And I'd always be encouraging people to find the positives, and in every situation there are upsides and there are downsides. Find the upsides for you and appreciate them and be grateful for what you do have. Don't be angry or upset about what you don't have.
Yeah, I think it's about placing your attention on what's right with the world, in your world, and not what's wrong with your world, because that gives you the power to be able to, move through the day in a much more positive, uplifting way.
Welcome to the Beers with a Miner podcast. My name is Mad Mumzie, and I've been driving the huge dump trucks in Australian open cut mines for over 10 years now. I wish I had $1 for everyone who said to me, "How does a little thing like you drive those big trucks? Oh, you must be rich. How do I get a job doing that?" My mining friends are asked these questions all the time too. This is what started the Mad Mumzie journey to share stories and tips from living a mining lifestyle and to let others know what it's really like. Tune in each episode as I sit down for a relaxed chat, usually over a few beers, with a fellow miner. Women and blokes with various experience, roles and opinions share their lessons and stories with you. Not everyone is cut out to be a miner, but why not? What does it take to thrive and survive in this industry? Now, let's dig in. Get it? Dig? Mining? Oh, crack me up. Hello and welcome to another happy hour episode of Beers with a Miner. Today we are lucky enough to speak with the lovely doctors Dr. John and Dr. Ellie McIntosh. John has been on the podcast before, episode number 65, where I went into your clinic, into your rooms.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and we spoke all about black lung and Cobalt Medicals, and I refer a lot of people back to that episode, so thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, Leanne.
Yeah, and welcome to the podcast, although I feel like I'm in your home, so you should welcome me.
Welcome, Leanne, to our home.
Actually, before the mic went on, I said, "Hello, beautiful Leanne," and she said, "I didn't even have the mic on then. We'll have to do it again."
Yeah, so there we go, we've got it. Okay, yes. Now I'm happy. All right, as this podcast is called Beers with a Miner, I usually like to start, sometimes finish, because we get off on a tangent and I forget to ask, what is your favourite beverage? It might be beer, wine, spirit, or perhaps even a cup of tea, and your most favourite time to enjoy it.
Okay, do you want to go first?
No, you go first.
I tend to move through different phases of liking different things, and sometimes I don't even like them when I start drinking them, and then they become my favourite, so I'm quite contrary. But I would say out of everything, I'm a bit of a teetotaler, so I do love a good cup of tea. And it's very rare that I will turn down a cup of tea if I'm asked, would I like a cup of tea?
And when would you like it?
My favourite time for a cup of tea is first up in the morning, and my beautiful husband gets out of bed and goes and makes me a cup of tea and brings me a cup of tea every single morning. So I'm very blessed.
And I think you knew the answer to that, John, which is why you asked. That was so cute.
She'd forgotten about the second half of the question. You see, I knew.
You two are old hands at this, doing interviews and things now, aren't you? And between you with your live streams that you do, which are great, but we'll get to that. Sure. And yours, John?
So I suppose a glass of kind of smooth red wine in the afternoon, or on a beach on the back of a boat on an island with the gentle breeze blowing. Safe anchorage, nice and calm.
With your honey.
With my honey.
This particular honey?
This particular, that's right. There is only one.
There can only be one.
I love it. And I think it's quite so many emotions about you mentioning your boat, because we just shared before we hit record here, there's been a lot going on in your world in the last couple of weeks, and I wanted to talk to you guys about mental health, especially for miners who might be struggling and with the whole COVID world. But it's not just miners, it's their families and it's children especially. And when we're going through so many changes, how can we prepare for and be ready so that we can deal with them? And at times you have to be the one who's helping other people get through something. So you guys have just had a very big event in your life. So if you'd like to explain first about your boating escapades and then what has just happened. Perhaps.
Yeah, so about 10 days ago, we got woken up at about 3 o'clock in the morning with a call from a friend in the US who told us that she's standing at the side of the water looking at our less than 1 year old boat burning to annihilation. This is a boat that was our long-term plan. We were providing aid work off the back of it, and we really had about an 8 to 10 year plan to progressively sell it back to Australia. And because of circumstances, it's caught fire and within 10 minutes had sunk. So completely annihilated all our belongings. All of that hard work was in a matter of a few minutes just destroyed.
And this was on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
So you're having to deal with things in different time zones, and as far as all of that, staying up and, the logistics around everything, but also the heartache around your baby. Do you call it your baby? I've watched so many of your videos and I'm like, oh, the dog, so sad.
Well, because it had been a dream and had been a goal of ours, over a 10-year period, I guess it was more than just a boat, even though we consoled ourselves by saying no one was hurt, we weren't on the boat, it's just a boat. But
we had to use that technique to take away the personality and to reduce the pain.
Yeah.
We had to protect ourselves by saying it's just a boat, we can get another boat, we're not hurt. So we've got to find the positives in this awful situation. And that was very early on.
But we did give it a spirit, and we did feel it had its own entity, and it did feel like, I know it sounds really weird, but it did feel like a family member of sorts that we lost, So, we had to go through the grieving process. We're still working our way through it, but fortunately we know what that looks like, and as we hit every stage of the grieving process, from anger to sadness to disbelief and all those kind of things, we recognize it. So we have that awareness, like, oh yeah, okay, so that was a bit reactive of me there. Oh yeah, okay, so I recognize what this is anger, and it's really interesting once you have that awareness and this will all pass. Whatever emotion we're going through, you're not going to stay in that emotion so long as you breathe and know that it's transient, and just allow yourself to let it pass.
Heal,
just don't try and push yourself through it. Acknowledge that you're going through it, I think, is an important thing. Acknowledge that, well, right now I feel really, really angry, and I'm so, I just want to, kick and scream and yell and jump up and down and all those kind of things. Just acknowledge that that's where you are at the moment, but know and have that knowledge that it will pass.
And also be careful not to let those feelings then spread out and cause consequent problems. So in the Tufminds processes, we talk about making sure you watch what you say and do, because, it can very quickly escalate into something more than just, like, if the anger is directed at the wrong people, well, then you start getting into conflict or you handle situations badly. So we had to be, being aware of that allows you to solve it and not allow the problem to escalate into more than it should be.
Yeah, because there's every emotion that you move through, particularly with grief or loss, it's like a breakup. We feel like that, we've had a breakup. And I was angry at the boat, because it broke my heart, So, and I think the big take home with that is that while you're going through all these emotions, know that this is a private thing between you and your emotions. It has nothing to do with anybody else. You don't have to involve anybody or throw out your anger or direct your anger at anybody else. You just have to sit with that emotion and go, wow, I'm feeling really rotten right now. But this is interesting because I know it will pass.
And do we do the same when it comes to sadness? Do we keep that to ourselves as well, or?
Well,
Because we still need to, people will be want to try and help you.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what Elizabeth's referring to is when you have the anger, don't spread it and fight with other people, because that's very easy to do. You can become reactive and then just be argumentative and obnoxious to everybody, and then they just, it causes arguments and conflict. I think if you have sadness that is an ongoing sadness, then you need to talk to somebody about it. And whatever you're feeling, we also shared how we're feeling with each other. You must share what you're feeling with the people around you. So Elizabeth was also talking about not attacking outwards, but within your own relationship or within the people that support you, you must talk to people you must talk to your support person or people, one or two really close people, share how you're feeling, because once they know that that's how you're feeling, they can understand why you're irritable or fractious or responding to certain things in certain ways. And I think, especially for miners who are week on, week off, a lot of the problems in relationships occurs because of that misunderstanding of what each party is going through. The person who's away for the week struggles with isolation and loneliness, and then they come home and the person who's at home has been putting up with the kids all week. So
would love a bit of isolation.
Can we swap?
That's right. Both sides need understanding from the other and need to be openly talking about how they're feeling so that you can support each other.
And that's really important, and especially also when you're the one who's working away and you're dealing with the crew and the crew culture, and that can really be a process too. So you need to have tools around that as well. Definitely. How to handle the angry dozer driver up on the dump, or me, I'd just cry in my truck. Everyone knows Mad Mumzie. That's why I do what I do. But another aspect that I really try to get people to think about is, why is he so angry? He's not just pissed off at you because you're dumping in the wrong spot or taking too long.
Yeah.
Maybe he is. Some just are. But there can be so much more going on that we don't know, and we need to respect that as well.
Yeah, I think the understanding that if somebody's reacting badly to you, they've usually got a problem of their own which you don't know about. So rather than just fighting back, it's probably better to shrug your shoulders, let that aggravation, whatever it is, flow by, and not take it on board, not take it into your heart, because if you start taking it into your heart or into your own emotions, then you just cause conflict. You fight back, your immediate reaction is, I didn't know that's quite me. And as soon as you start reacting like that, it just causes more conflict. So just understand that person probably has a problem, and we've had to deal with a few people like that on YouTube too, because we've had a few interesting comments.
Yeah.
Trolls.
Yeah, exactly.
They do say though, you haven't made it unless you've got trolls.
Well,
now to my listeners, there's no need to start trolling that Mumzie.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind too is often when someone is reactive and you're on the receiving side of their anger or their animosity, you're probably just the straw that broke the camel's back, because often people go, it was nothing, it wasn't even a big deal, and look how this person's reacted. That's because you don't know the history, that you are the 10th person that has really, contributed to this mountain of emotion that this poor person is struggling with. So I think definitely we've got to get back to having compassion and understanding and not be so reactive ourselves, and just breathing is really good, and just understanding that, look, I don't know what you've been going through, but I just feel compassion for you, because you must be going through something tough,
And you can say that in your own head without actually saying it to the other person, or they'll jump down your throat.
Not on the two-way there.
No.
Copy dozer 16. I know you're an asshole, but it's only because you're going through some stuff right now.
Yeah.
I'm showing compassion, so I might try and get my load over the edge for you, okay? So you don't break down.
No, that's probably a private conversation you have with your own self.
Just a little Mad Mumzie story. We did have a digger driver years ago who I'm sure they all sit up there and do these sort of things and say these sort of things. to the truckies. He was waiting for the truckies to come in, and he must have loaded about 6 trucks, and his two-way was stuck on.
Oh.
So we couldn't speak, but we could listen. And he's sitting in there and he's going, "Are you kidding me?" And like F-bombs all the time, and he's just fully like, oh yeah, here he goes. Oh, let's just back up the B55 trailer, you know. And we were just cracking up. It was very entertaining.
It would have been.
It was. But when we were talking earlier, Elizabeth, you spoke about anchors, and I wrote that down because that's a really good way when you're in that peak moment, whatever your peak moment is to have tools in your toolkit, your personal one, that can help you through a time of whatever you're being triggered by, that can just help you get through that moment. So can you speak about anchors to us, please?
Yeah, well, it is a process. It comes really from NLP, although it goes back a long way, thousands of years, where you're actually anchoring an emotion so that you can get back to that peak emotion when you're in distress. So if you're having a really bad day, you're feeling really, fractious, by simply touching a part of your like it might be your ear, or it might be just doing some sort of gesture that actually triggers something in you that takes you back to that peak experience. It's not as though you're reliving the whole peak experience again, but there's a wave of that peak experience that washes over you, that gets you back to that, the ability to be able to be centered again and, focused. And it works really well. And there's a lot of sports people that do it. We've trained, sports teams, athletes in the same process, where if they've really lost their focus and concentration, they can, elicit this anchor and get themselves back to that place.
And Bob Hawkes was twiddling his ear. If you notice, whenever he's having a difficult conversation, he'll squeeze his ear. That gets him to focus back on and answer the question. Yeah.
I thought it was body language. I don't like what I'm hearing. I don't like this reporter. I'm not listening to you.
What did I say?
Yeah. He would tug on his ear, and he'd often, ramble and go like that. But he'd be tugging on his ear at the same time, because he'd be trying to get himself back to that. Yeah. Focus and concentrate, and don't worry about the emotion that's he's being bombarded with at the moment. Just focus on the questions. So that was his trigger. That was his anchor. And if you notice, a lot of politicians, a lot of people that do public speaking, movie stars, people that are in the spotlight, often have been trained in this way, that they've got to get themselves back in some way, so that they will have training in finding that anchor for themselves.
And this is something my sister and I speak about. Hard Hat Mentor, my listeners know her, my real sister, and together we're Steel Cap Sisters, so Mad Mumzie and Hard Hat Mentor, and we've got a podcast called What Boots, and we speak about, I guess it's the same kind of concept, so it's about changing your boots. So I've got I'm really angry boots on, and then to add to that an anchor that can help you to change boots. Like I do it when I'm really concentrating on it. I can actually feel my feet tingling because I'm changing my boots.
Very cool. Very
cool. So we talk about that a lot.
Yeah, that's a really good technique.
Yeah, yeah.
And as Elizabeth said, a lot of performers actually, like before they go out to speak at an important event, they'll use their trigger just to get them focused, get rid of the butterflies, or reduce the butterflies and get their brain in gear. And it works really well.
Yeah. I'd just like to go on a different track now, perhaps to the world we're living in at the moment with the COVID world. And it's been going for a while now. We thought 2021, can't wait for New Year, it's all going to go away, it'll all be fine, but here we are. Yeah. It's now nearly September 2021, and for all my mining mates out there, as well as the rest of the world, they're having to deal with a lot of changes, especially early on. They every time they went to go and eat a meal, the rules had changed.
Yes.
And they were getting told where to stand, or sometimes they couldn't get their own meal they had be given what to eat, and then I know some sites they had to go and sit under a tree and eat with paper forks and all the disposable stuff, and then go and work 13 hours, and they were not happy, Jan. But it was the way of the world. At least they could still continue to work. But it's been going on for so long now, and there's the miners, all the support for the mining industry, as well as the people at home. And we have a lot of people that fly in and fly out, or drive in and drive out. So they're all working together in camps, and it's only a matter of time, you know. So we really have to do the right things and do our best to protect each other, so that people can continue to work. I guess the question I'm leading up to is about how everyone's mental health is just really struggling, and like you mentioned earlier, John, the kids as well. Do you have any tips for us how we can how do we get through this, guys? There's a big one. I'll sit back. You got an hour.
Well, I mean, certainly the stats are pretty bad in terms of how much mental health has deteriorated since COVID, and the numbers are around 30% increases in mental health problems and requirements for mental health assistance and suicide events, or suicide attempts and suicide actions, have all increased really dramatically in this past 18 months. So I'm going to pass it over to you. So what advice would you give, Honey?
I think, as John said, we've all been affected. Every single person on the planet, doesn't matter who you are. And the way of the world isn't the way of the world now. We've had to refocus, recalibrate, pivot, change from, whether you're a business person or whether you're just, whether you're a worker or a mum at home, have your own business, whatever it is, you have to adjust. And I think the secret really is your ability to be flexible, your ability to be less reactive, your ability to go with the flow and know that, okay, I'm not liking this, I'm not happy with this, but at the moment, this is the best thing for me to do. And to kick and scream and be angry and emotional and disturbed about it is not going to help you in any way, shape or form, or your workers or your family. So the best thing you can do is try to approach life in a more calm and give it up kind of manner. Yes, you can still be angry, but you don't, or disturbed about it, but don't be reactive. Be responsive, Be in touch with that part of you that you can control. What can you control? Because a lot of people feel like their world is out of control. And we don't like that. We like to have control. We like to have structure. We like to know what's going on. And in this day and age, we just don't. We're all just dancing on shifting sands at the moment. But the ones that are coping the best are the ones that are prepared to be more flexible and be able to move quickly and to be able to change at a moment's notice.
I mean, the other, very early on, people need to first look at what blessings they have. While you can be annoyed or there are disadvantages with the situation that you're in, here in Australia, we are up here in Queensland, if this is what we're talking about predominantly, and especially the mining industry, the one big plus is you've still got a job, So we all need to be really grateful, first of all, that the COVID is relatively low level in Australia. We were over in the US when the numbers were doubling every month per day, 50,000, 100,000, 200, and finally 300,000 cases per day. Wow. And we were in the US during that time. Now, we are very, very lucky here in Australia. If you've got a job, if you were in the tourism industry or airlines, they were devastated, and they still are dramatically affected. So I think look at the things that you are blessed with. So you do have a job, if you have one, your relationship, your kids, your health. Look at what you do have, not, oh my goodness, I can't do this or that. And really, if the food's bad, considering, just be lucky you're not in Afghanistan and you don't have any food. Do you know what I mean? They're like, everything is relative. And I mean, last week our boat burned down, but we had to very quickly say, what are our blessings? Okay, well, we weren't in the boat. We didn't get harmed. We have insurance, so hopefully we'll have a payout. We'll never get all the money back. But we had to look for the positives in this catastrophe. And that's, I'd always be encouraging people to find the positives. And in every situation, there are upsides and there are downsides. Find the upsides for you and appreciate them and be grateful for what you do have. Don't be angry or upset about what you don't have.
Yeah, I think it's about placing your attention on what's right with the world, in your world, and not what's wrong with your world, because that gives you the power to be able to, move through the day in a much more positive, uplifting way.
And I mean, we also, there's very sort of little things that you can do. When you go to bed every night, think of 3 things you can be grateful for from that day. And that just changes the whole mindset from a negative one, oh my God, this is so bad, to, there are good things that happen every day, and it might be a simple gift of generosity from a workmate or somebody helping somebody else, etc.
Or a compliment.
So, focus on the good stuff in life and your days will be happier.
I have a bit of a saying, I say, find the good bits between the shit bits.
Yeah, what she says.
Hey, this is Beers with the Mind. We're just busted ass miners. Now for a word from our sponsor, Julia Hartman and the Bantax Accounting Group. If you head to bantax.com.au/miners, that's BANTACS, you can download a free booklet all just for us miners. And there's also a spreadsheet in there that helps you check off what tools you have for your trade, like your isolation lock, work boots, 7 shirts, all of these sorts of things. And you can weigh them up and it'll tell you if you qualify weight-wise to claim your trips out to work. I strongly urge you to head to bantax.com.au/miners and tell them Mad Mumzie sent you. Next week you have a very special event coming up, and I think that's very relative to what we're speaking about, because it's about what we're in control of, thinking about the inside, like it all starts from within, and how you are within, how you are without. Hence, take it over, doctors.
So it's Inside Out Day. So on the 7th of September, we're celebrating Inside Out Day. And what this is all about is that your thoughts on the inside create your world on the outside. And this is just getting everybody to be aware that how they're feeling is a direct result of what they're thinking. So if you're feeling shit, if we're allowed to use 4-letter words,
you are.
It's because your thoughts are shit. If you can get rid of those shit thoughts, then you will feel better. So that's what Tufminds is all about, is actually controlling the thoughts on the inside so that you replace that negative stuff with positive stuff and supportive stuff, and you will help yourself, you will help the people around you, you will help your spouse, and it'll be good for the kids. So create positive thoughts and will create positive feelings, which produces positive actions and habits, and character, and your destiny will be different if you can control your thoughts. And that's what Tufminds is all about.
And you're encouraging people to wear something inside out.
This is Elizabeth's little brainchild. It's such a good idea.
So good, because there's so many days. We just had Purple Day for inclusion, I think that was.
Yeah.
There's so many. And then inside out. Is this the second year you've done this year?
It is.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to have an official Tufminds Day where there was an awareness on, your thoughts create your destiny, basically. But, there's so many colours out there, as you said. There's Purple Day, there's Daffodil Day, there's, yellow, there's red, there's all the, blue, white, all green, all sorts of things. And so I started thinking, and I came up with, what about, it's all about your internal thoughts. So why not have a colour, but just turn your clothes inside out for the day?
Some clothes.
Some clothes.
It doesn't have to be all your
clothes.
It doesn't
have, no.
And I must say, the poster that you have with the photos, and I'll share all these in the links in the show notes, which can be found at madmumzie.com/beers79, this episode. So we'll have the photos there, but you've got a pair of jeans inside out, and it kind of makes my eyes water, just the thought of, and how do I do the zip up? And then I thought, well, I'll wear a shirt inside out. And you could even, like, if you're out at work, because thinking high vis, you still have to have your high vis showing. So I was thinking you could wear your hat inside out or
well, you
something.
know, even your jocks inside out. I mean, you can your jocks or your socks inside out. You know, you can still participate.
Yeah.
Or you can wear your jocks on the outside like Superman. If you're brave.
And that would
that's a challenge for you guys.
Yeah, whose crew's going to do that? And that wouldn't be interfering at all with any high vis, because there's no high vis in that area. So I guess the women, we could wear our bras.
That's right.
No. Now we're getting a bit out of hand.
Well, last year we did have one of the nurses wear her bra on the outside of her uniform, which is really quite cute.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So we've had lots of really creative people, but it doesn't matter what you do. Participating is fantastic, and just getting that awareness out there, because it's quite a thing to get your head around, pardon the pun, that, you know, whatever it is you're thinking creates whatever it is you're feeling. So if you're having, you know, depressing or feeling anxious or stressed or anything like that, it all comes back to how you feel, how you're thinking first. So your thoughts create your world, creates your emotion. So
even the other thing that's really important is the events that happen to you produce thoughts in your own head, and two people can be in the same event. One person ends up with a major mental health problem or feels really bad, and the other person's fine. That's all to do with how you react, what your thinking is about that event. So it doesn't matter how bad the event is. If you control your thoughts properly and don't let those events negatively impact your mood and your thinking, then you will come out of it much stronger, which is really an example from our boat burning down. And, you know, we've had to be very careful to not let the bad thoughts in, so that we can come out the other side faster and cleaner.
And move through all the things that you now have to do. Because there's a lot around that. Like changing everything.
Exactly.
All your plans.
Exactly. Well, another thing to keep in mind is that while you're emotional and while you're feeling bad or depressed or stressed, or, you know, all those emotions that we can often suffer, it's really difficult to be able to problem solve, because you use different parts of your brain to problem solve than you do to have an emotion. So if you can get those in check and, you know, not let the emotions really, you know, take control, that way you're able to solve those problems that you really need to solve.
I would like to just do a little quick promo so people can watch my boat burning and see exactly how terrible it was. On our YouTube channel, which is Barefoot Doctors Sailing, episode.
Our finest hour.
It was our absolutely worst hour. Episode 30.
Yeah. So. And again, I'll link to that in the show notes. I'll actually even embed it on the show notes. And depending on the podcast app that you're using, you might be able to watch it while while you're listening. Yeah. And we do, you know, we are laughing, lighthearted, ha ha ha. Oh, we laugh, but it's a serious thing, and people are going through a lot of things. They're not working. They're losing their businesses. People are passing away.
Of course.
We had someone very close to us pass away in England. Couldn't get him back here. Took months because of COVID, and he had to there's so many levels of it. And even back to mining, again, I use the analogy of on the dump, and you said about two different people seeing it in a different way. And I remember I was having a bad day, and I was crying. Like I did. I used to cry in my truck all the time for a long time. And you get told, oh, you have to harden up, take a cup of cement and everything. But it just turns out that's who I am. I'm that sort of creature.
That's how you
deal
process.
with your emotion.
My eyes leak, whether they want, even when I don't want them to. That what's happening now? But then I had another workmate, a lady, best mates, and swear jar. Close your ears, my listeners are used to it. But she's like, fuck him, just dump it anywhere and go. He'll be right, he's got a blade, he can push it. So that was her attitude. Compared to mine was like this broken little petal who felt bad because I'd put it in the wrong spot. So there's varying degrees of it, and you can choose which petal you want to be. I suggest not mine. And it depends on the day you're having, and like my world and her world. You're much angrier person than me, you know. So, and then there's other times where I've had people at the crib hut, I think I might have shared this on the podcast, and someone come in and they were having a really bad day, but they were really upset, and they needed the nurturing nana mummy figure that I was, and came up to me after as I was walking out to my truck and said, "Thank you so much, I really just needed you today." And I was like, see, you're allowed to be nice. It's okay.
I think having sympathy and not being judgmental on other people when they're reacting badly is really good, because they usually, if I mean, unless they're actually like that all the time, in which case they've probably got a bad attitude, which you then deal with in a different way. But if you have...
Then they're the ones who need to listen to the podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
What's your new anchor going to be, guys?
So just have sympathy and be kind. Don't be judgmental, and don't take it personally. So if somebody else is putting out negative stuff to you, then we talk in Tufminds about like a bubble. So if people are throwing out negativity, view it and don't let it inside your bubble or into your heart. And if it's negative and irrelevant, just say, well, that's that person's problem. I'll just let that float by. Don't take on the emotion.
I love that. And can you guys just share with us again about Tufminds and the app and all of that? All the gold. I think we touched on it in our episode, John, but we'll just refresh.
Well, 3 years ago, we decided to release a mental health and wellness resilience app to the world for free, and we did this. It did take a few years to do. To create it, it's now available on Android and on iPhone, and it doesn't matter where you sit on that mental health scale or that mood meter. From, if you're having, in your darkest days and depressed and anxious, or even suicidal, or even if you're doing okay, flourishing and thriving and things are going okay, but you might not be sleeping so well. There is something on that app for everybody. There's different categories that people can plug into that can get you a good night's sleep with the relaxation processes, can teach you about, if you're concerned about anyone that's thinking about suicide or you might be worried about, it can give you the strategies, what to look out for, how to approach it and all that sort of thing. So on a mental perspective, it's got something there for everybody. Yeah,
so in terms of the suicide stuff, there's one module specifically, which is me counselling for somebody who is actively suicide at that time. So this part of the program has actually saved lives, and we're very grateful for that, the fact that we can actually make a difference like that. But then there's all the other modules about that sharp end, how to ask the questions, how to respond when somebody says, no, I'm not okay. And then also how to boost your mental health and a lot more stuff about mental resilience. Within the app though, probably the most important modules are the ones about personal internal thoughts and mastering your negative internal self-talk.
Just what we've talked about.
So there's 4 modules: how to recognize negative thoughts, how to get rid of them, and then how to replace them with positive alternatives, and also how to deal with negativity from others. So these processes are so powerful, and they are the process that all successful people and successful athletes use to get their success. It's by getting rid of the negative, the little voice, nasty, horrible things that pop up in your brain, recognize them as being horrible and inappropriate, and get rid of them and replace them with a positive alternative, and you will be stronger, happier, a nicer person, and have phenomenal success. But you have to actually practice those techniques.
And I think that's an important point to practice those when everything isn't falling apart.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we had to refine them for us 10 days ago when our boat went up, because we had to, we had to focus, get back to it, okay?
Now, hang on a minute.
That's right.
Where's the app?
That's right.
You get yours out, John.
Yeah. And I mean, Elizabeth was talking about insomnia and stress. There's like a 3-minute stress buster thing, audio. So there's techniques where if you are getting stressed and highly strung, in 3 minutes you can reduce your stress levels. And there's an insomnia audio which will, I would like to say, guarantee to get you to go to sleep. But it's nobody has yet told us that they haven't got to sleep and they haven't ever heard. Nobody has ever heard the whole thing through without falling asleep.
I know I fall asleep with Elizabeth quite often. That definitely came out in our podcast.
That's right.
You didn't know that bit.
Yeah, Elizabeth goes to bed with lots of people.
Yeah, I get around.
Yeah. Did you guess that it's her voice?
Yeah, so we're in more than 51 countries of the world now, being downloaded weekly and daily, thousands of people. So we're very happy. We know we've touched a lot of people's lives. We know that we've helped a lot of people back from the brink of suicide and depression, anxiety, that sort of thing.
But I mean, I suppose the important thing about the app is not just for people at the suicide mental health end, it's for everybody. We actually taught our staff in the practices these techniques. It improved communication, it improved resilience, it made people happy, it made the way they talk to each other much more respectful. It just created a wonderful atmosphere.
Just to be able to cope with life at the moment. We all need tools to be able to cope with life, and the Tufminds processes really helps you cope with life.
And it's good for kids too, actually, because kids are really receptive to these processes, both the no NITS, negative impulsive thoughts processes, but also, the audios that, they go in the balloon ride. It's fantastic for kids, So they go to sleep with them, and we also had feedback from individuals with intellectual disability that are using the relaxation processes and the insomnia processes to great effect, because it's such wonderful imagery that they can follow it quite extremely well. So it's very rewarding.
Just bloody amazing. Everyone should have it. And it's tough, TUF.
Yeah, TUF.
Minds. So find that. And it's free. Download it if you haven't already. You might already have it.
Yeah.
But we have so many apps on our phones.
I know.
And I've got that. That's right.
Yeah,
I remember getting that when I listened to episode 65.
Yeah. But if you don't use it, it's like the pill. If you don't take it, it's not going to work.
Oh, is that how I ended up with 2 kids? That's a great segue there, Dr. John. I would like to touch, since I'm talking to doctors, but especially there's quite a few men that listen, and this will help with those with boys and young kids that might start to be feeling like this. But their fear and rejection of wanting to go to a doctor to get things checked out, or to see what's wrong, or to get fixed and stop being in pain, whatever that pain might be. It might be mental health, it might be your teeth, it might be your back, it could be anything. And it seems there are a lot of men who just don't go, or reluctant to go. And I think we spoke about this in our episode. My daughter's partner died of a heart attack at the bottom of a coal mine, and he was finally going to go and see the cardiologist because he'd met someone and had a reason to live, but he never came out. If he'd have gone earlier, so it's very close to my heart, as you can imagine. So do you, and especially now, I guess, as well, without going into the pros and cons and the argument for the jab, but some people just aren't going because they don't like needles, or they don't want to go. I don't do doctors. Can't make me. It's more about not going to the doctor than not getting a jab. And the main reason I bring this up is also because there is a push to make it mandatory. And I think it's going through courts for the mining right now as we speak. So if it becomes mandatory, well, then they're either going to lose their job or they're going to have to go to the bloody doctor. Should it get to that point?
Yeah, I mean, first I'll deal with the doctor issue. I mean, I hate going to the doctor. I mean, sorry, like everybody hates going to the doctor.
Yeah.
I hate having to take medications if I'm needing to take medications. And nobody likes having needles, or stitches or I mean, even worse, going to a hospital and having an operation. I once had to have a finger operation. But the thing is, if you go early, the treatment is often a lot easier than if you delay and wait till the problem gets worse.
I was going to say that. Go when the problem is small.
And then the treatment is easy. I mean, melanoma is a classic. If you pick up a melanoma early, you cut it out, simple, relatively small excision, everything being relative, but it's still a small excision that the doctor can do with local anesthetic in the GP surgery, and you're cured. Wait 2 or 3 months, and it's spread everywhere and becomes really hard to treat or impossible. So, and heart attacks, you're exactly right. Like if you have a pain, well, even if you think it's not going to be, even if you are worried that it might be something, well, get it checked out so you can prove that it's not the something. Because if it is the something, then you want to get it treated quickly before it kills you.
And I've had mates say, especially about cancer and the prostate cancer checks. And it's like, well, I don't want to go and know that I've got it.
Yeah.
I'd rather not know than know that I've got it. And I'm like, how can you?
Yeah.
I just can't comprehend that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if in the early stages of prostate cancer, bowel cancer, the treatment is relatively easy and it's curable if you catch it early. If you leave it till it's too late and it spreads beyond the local area, it becomes much harder to treat and the surgery is much more dramatic and you lose continence and you can't have sex and a whole lot of other stuff that you don't want to know about. So if you want to continue having great sex, go and get your prostate checked and don't leave it too long, guys.
Oh, that's got to be the opening line of the episode. Intro line.
Moving on to the vaccinations, I mean, we had the AstraZeneca vaccine because it's the only one that's available. We obviously had plans to go back to the US, so for us it wasn't even an option. We have to have it absolutely because it's too much of a risk at our age. I had a friend my age who died of COVID. So, so for us this isn't, and this is a real issue for, I shouldn't say everybody, this is a real risk for everybody in the world, and depending on what country you're in, the risk is relative. So we are very, very lucky here in Australia, and we're even luckier in Queensland, in the middle of Queensland, because there's no active cases or very few, even through the whole process of COVID.
At the moment, as we record this in the future.
That's right, at the moment.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Delta strain is now causing a whole heap of problems, but I mean, this is common sense. The stats are, so many millions of people have had the vaccine. It's very safe relative to all vaccinations. All vaccinations have risks. When we give children vaccinations, we say there's a 1 in a million chance of a severe life-threatening side effect. But it doesn't stop kids being vaccinated. And that's the same with COVID, but it's just being magnified by the news. And the risk is a bit more. It's like 2 in a million or something like that. And as you go younger, I think it gets up to 4 in a million. But that, if you have COVID, the risk of dying is 1 in 200. So if you were a betting man, which kind of risk would you want to take?
Yeah.
The mandatory vaccination thing is just too controversial. But I certainly very strongly suggest getting a vaccination. COVID will come. COVID will come to our part of the world eventually, because just like the flu, it's going to come, and as more people start being vaccinated, it reduces the spread. But then somebody's going to get through that has it, and the few people that get it who are not vaccinated are going to get it. And then you run the risk of dying from COVID, no matter what age. Don't think because you're only 25, you're not going to die, because you don't die as often, but you die. I mean, it's a terrible condition. Same with, influenza or the flu, the true flu. A few young people die with the true flu, but a lot more die of COVID. So it does kill young people with no illnesses. So this whole thing about not affecting you if you don't have a underlying problem is, don't swear. I don't want to swear, but it's
I'll swear for you, it's bullshit.
I mean, again, don't worry about the vaccination, just get it, I mean, we have seen too much destruction and catastrophe because of people either not using the protection from COVID, and now obviously now we have the vaccination protection. I mean, it will come, come to this area, and you will be at risk. And if you haven't been vaccinated, suddenly there'll be a huge rush on the vaccinations and you won't be able to get one.
And then, sorry.
I was just going to say too that also it is looking more and more likely that it's going to be like a passport.
I was just about to say that.
To go to
Absolutely.
a lot, even to your local pub guys.
Yeah.
You might end up that point. So if that's your why.
Yes, that's
Well, and when you go overseas, that's why I've never been overseas. Well, another reason, but because how many needles do I have to have?
Yeah.
And you have to have that to go. So the people arguing for their freedoms, I try to have a drone's eye view and taking everyone's point of view, but in the real world, there are times where you have to have a needle or you can't go.
I mean, yellow fever is a classic. When you come or go to certain countries, you have to have a yellow fever vaccine. Otherwise, they won't let you back. Obviously, with COVID already in Europe and the UK, people have to have been vaccinated to allowed to go to the restaurants and bars. And that's certainly a possibility in Australia down the track. And if you do ever want to travel, then you're going to need a vaccination either to travel to those countries or certainly to come back. Otherwise, you're going to have much more, I was going to say sinister, much more severe restrictions on like hotel quarantines and all that is going to be more severe if you're not vaccinated. So.
And Pfizer has just been approved by let me see if I get it right. Is it the FDA?
Oh, yeah.
In America?
Yeah.
So as a fully fledged out there drug as of a couple of days ago, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that was the last final.
You mean the vaccination?
What did I say?
You said the Pfizer vaccination.
The vaccination.
Yeah.
So that got that final tick of approval
okay.
to be on their list, and that's a
big
hard thing
thing.
a hard challenge.
Oh, I mean, look, so many millions of people have been vaccinated with all the vaccinations that are out there now that we know the stats, and so for people to say, I'm worried about it hasn't been researched, well, it has, because, not only before it was released, but after it was released, there's, I don't know how many millions, but millions and millions and millions of doses being given. So we know exactly how many people are going to have reactions. For the people that are getting annoyed at the restrictions, what they need to understand is the government sits there and considers, okay, if people are not vaccinated, how much are we going to have to pay for the medical care for those people compared to the cost of the vaccination? So that's why they're trying to push and forcefully encourage people to vaccinate. So they know that if they don't vaccinate, how serious the problems are. And these are very expensive treatments, hospitalizations, ICU. And honestly, having COVID is, some people have mild case, but those that have severe case, it is really, really awful. Don't think this is just another flu. I mean, the ordinary flus can be really terrible too, but I mean, COVID, as I say, you end up in ICU, not being able to breathe, choking, and potentially dying. So don't take it lightly.
Would you like to get a word in? Sorry.
What he says.
Yeah, what he says. Okay, thank you for that note.
It's just, the world today has changed from what it was, and we all have to adapt. We all have to think on our feet, be able to shift on, those shifting sands, and be flexible. And, even if you have an opinion now saying, I'm never going to get vaccinated and I'm standing my ground and, that's how it is. There's a really great saying that we fall back on often when we have a very strong opinion about something is that a wise man changes his mind. A fool never does. So, if you're wise, you can change your mind. If you're a fool, you'll stand your ground, but you might die standing that ground.
And ignore the evidence.
And ignore, whatever it is that's in front of you simply out of principle because you're not going to change your mind and you're standing your ground. it's important to be that wise man. It's important to be able to change our mind as our circumstances change.
And like the ground changes, which is like our world at the moment. So as you were saying that, I was kind of seeing that wise man. I'm not getting in the boat. And then the water keeps coming up. I don't do boats. I'm not getting in the boat. Okay, bye. Yeah.
Exactly.
So we need to move and evolve and shift. I guess I did a bit of that. At first I thought, well, I don't have to think about having a vaccination because I wasn't on a list, a priority list. But then as that list kind of started going away and it was just everyone can come and get it, I thought, right, well, I'll go and do it. So this Wednesday is number 2, double jab. Yeah, and I was fine for the first one. I kept waiting. I gave myself 2 days off on my diary. It was a good excuse to go and lay down and watch the midday movie. Like, I'm recovering. Nothing happened.
Yeah, good.
Nothing. I even had to touch my arm. I'm like, no, surely it's sore. Next morning, it was kind of like if I had a bruise. And I just had a bit of a metallic taste in my mouth on the way home. That was it. Beer fixed that. No, water.
Yeah.
I suppose, I mean, just predicting the future here, which is a little bit ambitious, perhaps.
I believe in you.
But look, I mean, COVID is just going to become it's going to have to be treated like our flus have been for years. So there's most likely going to be COVID occurring in the world chronically, as in every year, continuous rumblings, and the community will need to be vaccinated, and the high-risk people especially will need to be vaccinated for it every year, and as it changes, the COVID vaccine will be changed. So this is going to become another flu infection that people get vaccinated for on a regular basis, and that, as I say, that vaccination is likely to have to change as the COVID variants change over the years. Currently they're all covered by the existing vaccines, but it's just going to be a matter of time. And because there have been so many cases, it's given the virus more opportunity to mutate. If it had been better controlled at the beginning, then there would have been less virus, less opportunity to mutate, and there wouldn't be so many variants. But it is going to become a long-term, low-grade infection that just carries on going forever and ever.
So look after ourselves, so we can look after everybody else.
And you can, vaccinate so you don't get sick and you can stay at work.
Stay at work, earning the big bucks in the mines, right? How lucky are we? I think we might start wrapping up, unless you guys have got anything else that you would like to talk about to call this episode complete for you.
We do have very exciting news. We're actually just about to release a 21-day Stress Buster program, which incorporates all the Tufminds processes in a very structured way that over 21 days it changes people's habits. So we teach people how the process of positive mindsets, but also a lot of other techniques in terms of how to control the stress, how to bring your stress levels down, and then how to eliminate the negatives from your thought processes, affirmations, and a whole lot more.
It takes 21 days to break a habit, and often the pattern of negative thinking has become a habit for a lot of people because it beats them down. We get battle weary and we get tired, and before we know it, that's the way we think. We're thinking in a very negative, downtrodden way. Whereas this 21-day program pulls you up out of the hole of negative thinking and empowers you, gives you tools that you can start to turn your thinking around and be much more positive, productive, and take you closer towards your dreams and your goals, whatever they might be in life.
And there's going to be a small cost for this. It's going to be about 50 cents a day. And this is going to be released in the next few weeks. So if people have stressed themselves or significantly struggle, or they know somebody who does struggle with stress or anxiety, then let them know. And the research shows that this is phenomenally effective.
Did you? I'm with you, listener. Did you say 50 cents a day?
Yeah.
50 cents a day. That's great.
Yeah.
That's really good value.
And the audios and all the modules can go back and like over the longer term, people have access to it so that they can go back and revisit all the processes in the future if they need to. So it's wonderful.
And what is the best way for people to get in touch with you and find out more if they need more John and Ellie in their life, and also where to get that program?
So Tufminds.com is the easiest place to go, and it'll be advertised there.
Yeah.
That's a TUF.
TUF, I was just going to say. Yeah. And, of course, all the links will be in the show notes, madmumzie.com/beers79, the number 79, not the other one. We've already done that one. Yeah. The other number. Thank you so much for having me here in your beautiful home. And as always, I love being in your energy. You are amazing people who are passionate and helping the world. You are global humans, and I love that about you. And that is what, I don't want to make you cry. I'm going to cry. The loss of the boat so much more heartbreaking, because I know the good that you were delivering to the world from that, as well as sailing around and helping people. We didn't really talk about how you were helping from that. Did you want to quickly touch on that?
We're sharing the Tufminds processes wherever we go. And I mean, obviously we've travelled in various places, but in the Bahamas they struggle both with COVID and cyclones, and they've got immense destruction over the past few years. So we teach people all those same techniques of how to pull yourself out of the major events, and now we've got the personal experience to share that too.
Well, there was even a young guy, 11-year-old that was struggling with suicide. So, if we hadn't have been there at the right place at the right time, he probably wouldn't be here still. So, we have done a lot of good. We've also, sailing around, we've got the Barefoot Doctors sign on the boat, and people we had dagger in the heart. So people used to just come to the boat, and John would do anything from look in people's ears because they had a dodgy ear, to knees, to mental health problems, to dislocated shoulders, to all sorts of things. So it was a really great platform, and we don't know why it's happened. We were doing so much good in the world, and all we know is that everything is in perfect order. And like I said before, we just haven't been sent the memo to tell us what that order is.
Yeah,
we have had phenomenal feedback from our people, like people that have watched the channel. And that has been really amazing. So very heartwarming, the kind of response we've had. The people are just, they were in tears watching our videos. I didn't want to make people sad. That wasn't the point. But, anyway,
come along with the journey.
Follow the Barefoot Doctors.
Right.
They will be back for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
It's been our pleasure.
Yeah, it's lovely talking to you again.
Cheers. Thank you. So there you go. What do you reckon about my lovely doctors? Aren't they amazing? Dr. John and Dr. Ellie McIntosh. I realised at the start I didn't introduce Ellie. We just went straight into it, which was a little bit funny. I started to. So, yeah, they're amazing, and I really encourage you to go to the show notes, madmumzie.com/beers79. I have embedded in there 2 of their YouTube video episodes where they are sharing in real time pretty much all about the boat burning down and how it was so much more than just their boat, as we just heard. It was their dream, to travel the world and give aid to people who need it whilst sailing and having a wonderful adventure, which you'll see. They're really great videos as well, and you'll love it. And Ellie's really cute. She's quite upset about all her lovely bikinis that got burnt down in the fire. My plan is, and if all went well, I'm releasing this on Are You OK Day 2021. So, of course, if you're listening into the future, it's not Are You OK Day. Or is it? Because it's the sort of thing we can ask at any time. We don't need a whole day around it. And what do you do if someone isn't okay? Well, as we just shared with the doctors, there are lots of great tools out there, and the Tufminds app is one of them. Since we had that chat, I have actually fallen asleep with Dr. Ellie quite a few times. It's really good. There's so much gold in that app, so make sure you get it. It's free on Android and iPhone stores. TUF Minds. Beautiful. And also this week was the Inside Out Day, where we wear our clothes inside out, and I went to a lovely morning tea, which was fantastic. Great people. We raised a little bit of money, not a lot, but, it wasn't about the money. It was about, yes, that helps. It went to local domestic violence support here in Mackay, our local town, and the area, around here. Much needed, but so much more money. I'd just love to win the lotto or however the universe wants to deliver me a shitload of money. I'm open. Doesn't have to be the lotto, right? And buy lots of houses and support for people who are doing it tough. And on Are You OK Day, you might be doing it tough. So if this has triggered anything for you, be sure to reach out. There's Beyond Blue, Lifeline, Tufminds. There's your mates. There's family. But don't go it alone, guys. I don't really have much else to say. I suppose I, should launch into, if you want to get a job in the mines, go to mining.teachable.com. But I'm more feeling humbled by the doctors and just their passion to do good things in the world. In my own world, there's some really lovely people that I'm connected to who are doing great things. So keep your eyes out for those lovely people and give them a bit of an attaboy or an attagirl. We just need nice people in the world, don't we? Not all crankies. And you crankies, shock everyone and be nice for a day. Oh, now that made me laugh. Okay, let's finish on a high. I'm a bit this isn't a high. I'm a bit pissed off because my footy team lost the final the other day by 1 point, and it was really bad umpiring. And I don't usually say that. I'm usually like to think I'm quite unbiased, but we was bloody robbed. And that's the Brisbane Lions. So it was quite heartbreaking. So yeah, there's that. But other than that, all is well. I found a baby snake in my studio the other day as it's starting to warm up here. It's a little carpet snake, so all I can think of is where are all his brothers and sisters and where's the mum? Oh, I'm sitting in here right now and it's nighttime and they're probably coming out to play. I don't know. I think it's time to go back to the house and go to sleep. Or maybe I'll have another beer and watch Wentworth. Okay, thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate you. And thank you to the people who have been reaching out to me, hitting me up and saying you're listening to the podcast and that you're really getting value out of it. Oh, now I'm going to cry. I've been watching too many of the doctor's videos. I really appreciate that. And it inspires me to keep going. So thank you so much for listening. Until next time, whenever that might be. I'm cranking them out now, right? It's about 3 in 3 weeks, I think. Go me. Give myself an attagirl, right? Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, stay safe, be real, be special, and have fun. For we only live once. Cheers.